Welcome to This Explainer. Right now, we are standing at a pretty fascinating and honestly high-speed intersection. On one side, you have the raw, accelerating power of AI, and on the other, an urgent global scramble to build guardrails before we crash. Today, we're going to use the absolute latest data to map out exactly how these dual forces are reshaping our reality. Let's start with a reality check that is just staggering: 85%. That is how many adults are reporting that they can no longer tell the difference between real and AI-generated content. Just a year ago, that number was 66%. So in an incredibly short amount of time, the visual and auditory proof we've relied on for our entire lives has been fundamentally undermined. When you literally can't trust the voice of a loved one on the phone or a video popping up on your newsfeed, reality itself becomes kind of subjective. We aren't just confused anymore. Consumers are feeling genuine, everyday anxiety about entering what one survey respondent called a post-truth reality. It's a chilling sentiment for sure, but it perfectly captures the moment we're in right now. To figure out how we got here and where we're going, we're going to navigate through four main areas today: the post-truth reality, the shift to smarter, faster, smaller AI, the geopolitical AI race, and finally, building global guardrails. Section 1. The post-truth reality, navigating everyday deception. Let's look at what everyday people are experiencing out there. Get this, half of all consumers surveyed reported encountering some kind of AI-driven scam in just the past year alone. And we've moved way past those old, clunky spam emails from fake princes. Today, we are dealing with highly personalized, manipulative deception. We're talking deepfake product reviews, AI-generated images, and incredibly convincing voice-cloned calls that sound exactly like your family members. Because of all this widespread fraud, human behavior is actually changing. People are retreating. Terrified of deepfakes, impersonation, and having their identities hijacked, consumers are actively locking down and choosing to share far less about themselves and their families online. The very technology that promised to connect us is kind of driving us into hiding. Section 2. Smarter, faster, smaller AI. The capability explosion. So, what's actually powering this massive wave of convincing AI? Let's dive into the technical shifts. For years, the whole conversation was about massive large language models. But now, research points to a huge pivot towards small language models, or SLMs. Think of these as highly efficient little AI brains that fit right onto your phone or laptop. They give us the lightning-fast reasoning power we need without the massive headache of connecting to a giant cloud server. When you look at them side by side, SLMs completely solve the crazy cost and lag issues of those giant models. Serving an SLM is up to 30 times cheaper. But the real game changer here is the architecture. Instead of relying on one giant, expensive, monolithic brain to do everything, developers are building modular systems. It's like building with Legos. You can stack highly specialized, small AI agents together to knock out complex tasks almost instantly. And listen, smaller absolutely does not mean weaker. The Stanford AI Index showed that in a single year, AI coding performance skyrocketed from 60% to near perfect. That is an explosive jump. We are looking at frontier models right now that comfortably match PhD-level experts in science and math. The capability ceiling just keeps going up. Section 3. The geopolitical AI race. Accelerating global dominance. Because when capabilities explode like that, it triggers a global scramble. Taking a look at the national scale, the funding disparity is literally unbelievable. In 2025, U.S. private investment in AI massively dwarfed China's. We're talking nearly $286 billion compared to just $12.4 billion in China. That is a staggering amount of private capital flooding into the American AI ecosystem. But here's the twist. Despite that huge difference in funding, the actual model performance gap has effectively closed. The data shows that US and Chinese models have been trading the lead back and forth. As of early 2026, the top US model leads the top Chinese model by a razor-thin margin of just 2.7%. It turns out throwing money at the problem doesn't guarantee a permanent monopoly. This neck-and-neck reality has triggered a very direct response. The U.S. Department of War released an internal memorandum mandating a hard, aggressive pivot to an AI-first strategy. They're calling for a speed wins mentality and a wartime approach to slash red tape and bureaucratic blockers, strictly so they can integrate AI faster than their adversaries. To lock in that dominance, the military is rapidly deploying what they call pace-setting projects. These are programs with sci-fi names like SwarmForge and Open Arsenal. The memo explicitly notes a shift away from utopian idealism, moving toward a hard-nosed, AI-first warfighting approach that is completely focused on lethal efficiency. Section 4. Building global guardrails, the race for safety and regulation. This is where the friction really sparks. This right here is the core tension of 2026. On one hand, you have a military mandate screaming that speed wins, pushing to waive regulations. But on the other hand, the data is flashing warning signs. Documented AI incidents shot up to 362 last year, and safety benchmarks are severely lagging behind capabilities. We are moving incredibly fast, but we're also crashing way more often. So enter the European Union. Attempting to reel in this Wild West, the EU introduced the AI Act. This is huge. It's the world's first comprehensive legal framework on AI. It officially becomes fully applicable and enforceable across the EU in August 2026. Their approach is actually brilliant. They aren't trying to regulate the math or the tech itself, they're regulating the risk of the application using 4 distinct tiers. A minimal risk like a spam filter? No rules. But if you're using chatbots or deepfakes, you face strict transparency rules. High-risk stuff like critical infrastructure requires intense testing, and anything deemed an unacceptable risk is banned entirely. And they are absolutely not messing around with that unacceptable risk tier. Things like social scoring, or trying to read emotions in workplaces and schools, or manipulative deception, those are simply outlawed. If a system poses a clear threat to fundamental human rights, it is straight up illegal to deploy in Europe. What's really fascinating is how the public views this. Globally, populations overwhelmingly trust the EU to regulate AI, but in the US, only 31% of citizens actually trust their own government to do the same. There's a very clear, loud desire from the public for the kind of structured safety the EU is trying to provide. Which leaves us with the ultimate question of this explainer. As these AI models get smaller, smarter, and woven into literally everything from military arsenals to our living rooms, can our laws actually keep up with our code? Or will the sheer speed of innovation just outrun our ability to control it? Keep that in mind the next time you see a video you aren't quite sure is real. Thanks for joining this explainer.